in. We'll let people start to sneak in here a little bit as we go. All right, guys. So first off, thank you for joining. This is the second live event we've done here for the Commerce Lab newsletter readers. So please, after this, we'll be sending out an email with a recording, so you guys have the actual recording. But please feel free to respond back. Let us know what you like, what you did not like. What would you guys like to see in the future? We're going to start doing these on a monthly basis, focusing on a combination of different tactics and strategies that we use internally at Blue Scout, as well as continue to pull on awesome experts like Eric Christensen from Just Know that we've got with us today to help us talk about the formula and the process for helping to improve your abandoned cart and abandoned checkout rate. So agenda for today, pretty simple. We're going to keep this super casual. What we're going to do first is we're going to go over the framework that we like to use internally. And this is a very simple framework that we use when we are first assessing carts and checkout experiences, as well as when we're designing cart and checkout experiences from the ground up. And the idea here is we want to have you guys be able to walk away with a simple framework that you can take and apply with your site, with your team, to start to optimize internally. Obviously, there's lots of nuance to this, and we'll get into a little bit of that, but we want, at least at the very least, for you guys to have a framework that you guys can use for your own brand. So we're going to talk about that framework here right in the beginning, and then we're going to talk about some more tactical tools that you can use to both improve AOV as well as tools that you can use to help improve your abandoned cart rate right off the bat. So we'll talk about a couple of tools right off the bat that everybody here can use. And then my favorite piece of this is Eric and I are going to jump in and we're going to start to tear down a few different site experiences. So we've got a few sites lined up to jump into, some of which do a good job, some of which don't. And the idea here is we want to walk through the actual purchase experience across cart and checkout and point out to you very specifically what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, with the hope that you can then take that and start to apply it to your own brand. So that is what we've got on the agenda today. And hopefully we can get the chat working here in the meantime, and we can take some Q&A towards the end of the webinar here as well. Eric, sound like a plan to you?
Perfect.
Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in real quick, and I'll sort of lead the first piece of this, and let's talk about the framework that we use. At Blue Scout, we are big on frameworks. At the end of the day, every brand is different, every product is different, every audience is different, but there's always a fundamental truth around how buyers buy. We're all human beings. We all buy with emotion. We all justify those emotional decisions with logical reasoning. And so what we try to do at Blue Scout is we try to distill some of those human psychology and buyer psychology concepts down into simple frameworks that we can use as a baseline for every brand that we're working with and every store that we're designing and every store that we're auditing. And so what I'm going to do is share with you that very simple framework that we use specifically for cart and for checkout. And that framework we call excess friction and perceived risk. So these are the two concepts that you need to be thinking through when you want to assess whether or not your cart and whether or not your checkout is fully optimized. And so we'll sort of explain what this means here in just a second. But the idea here is that there is always going to be friction in that buying experience. And as a brand, we want to find for your specific product and for your specific audience, what is that friction? And then we want to reduce that friction. And the same goes with risk. And this is like I have this conversation weekly with brands. You know that your product's great. You know that you're going to deliver your product, right? But your new buyer, specifically new customers, they don't. And so that's why we call this perceived risk. Every buyer, when they come to buy from a brand for the very first time, is going to have a perceived notion of risk associated with that purchase. And whether or not it's a CPG consumable product or whether or not it's a high AOV electronic, it doesn't matter. There's always a certain level of risk or perceived risk associated with making a purchase for the very first time from a brand they've never purchased from before. So we'll talk a little about how do you actually go about reducing that quote unquote perceived risk that your buyer is going to have. And there's some very tactical ways you can do it. Okay, so let's talk about excess friction and how to remove excess friction. The best way to think about excess friction in your cart and checkout experience is in sort of the lens of what questions have not been answered for your buyer about your product or about the process associated with buying your product. So let's say, I always like to use this analogy because I think it's easy for everybody to understand. But let's say that I'm going on a trip, like I'm leaving for a trip next week. And I know that there's a very specific piece of clothing or gear that I need to purchase for my trip. Find the product, add to cart, go to checkout, go to make a purchase. But the question I have is, I leave on Tuesday. If I buy this today, is it going to even get here in time? Right? It's a very simple, unanswered question that I need to have answered before I feel comfortable moving forward with the purchase. One example, right? I think if you're looking at like a CPG product, a consumable or a supplement, let's say, okay, I'm going to buy this product. I'm buying a large version of this product, add it to cart, going to checkout. Right before I make a purchase, I'm like, you know what? Am I buying enough of this? Is this a month's worth? Is this a week's worth? Am I even going to use this before it expires? When does it expire? So think of your customer as somebody who has a series of unanswered questions that they need to have answered before they pull the trigger on a purchase. And so your job as a brand, specifically in cart and specifically in checkout, is to understand what are those remaining unanswered questions that had not been answered earlier in the buying experience, like on the product page. But what are those unanswered questions that are happening in cart and checkout that you need to be answering in the cart and in the checkout in order for them to move forward? And some of those key questions that would be universal across essentially every brand or every product that we see would be, how much is shipping? When will this arrive? Questions about returns or exchanges, right? Can I return this for free? Can I at least exchange it for free? Is there a window for returns or exchanges? For clothing, that's a big deal, right? For high AOV purchases, free returns, free exchanges is a huge deal. And then the one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about is alternatives or competition, which is, can I buy this cheaper somewhere else? Not necessarily can I buy this product cheaper, but can I buy the alternative to this somewhere else? Can I get it faster from somewhere else? Can I get it cheaper from somewhere else? But knowing who your buyer is, understanding your competition is going to let you be able to answer these questions for your buyer much more quickly. And we'll talk about ways to actually do this in the minimal real estate that you have in cart and in checkout. The second piece of this is perceived risk, which we've talked about. How do we calm perceived risk? So from a buyer standpoint, put yourself in your buyer's shoes. Buying something from a brand for the very first time, there's a certain amount of risk of buying that product for the very first time from a brand that you've never purchased from before. How do we reduce the risk profile of that purchase? And the absolute best ways to do that are through things like guarantees. It could be money back guarantees. It could be returns guarantees, warranties, right? What's the lifetime? How much, how far into the future are you going to back that product? And the example I always give is like the extreme version of like Patagonia. So Patagonia clothing, apparel has a lifetime guarantee. You rip your jacket, you take it into a Patagonia store, they replace it or they'll fix it for you. So it's a lifetime warranty associated with the product. I think Yeti coolers at least used to also have the exact same, lifetime warranty. They may still do. But that dramatically reduces my perceived risk of purchase, because in my mind, at that point, there is no risk. I can return it for free shipping, free returns, lifetime warranty, right? If you want to look at like the ultimate profile of being able to reduce my perceived risk of purchase for a product that I've never bought before. Now, that's not always financially viable for every brand. So we can also talk about ways that you can sort of find the middle ground between those. But the idea here is ultimately, what are your policies around this that are consumer focused, good policies that are going to reduce their perceived risk? And how can you present that to the customer in the right place? What we typically see is that brands actually typically have pretty good policies that would reduce the perceived risk of purchase for a buyer. But because you haven't necessarily kind of sat in the shoes of your buyer and gone through this experience, you don't even know that you should display them. You don't even know that we should put our warranty here. So we'll talk about the best places to put that and position it here in just a second. So a couple quick examples, and what we'll do here is we'll actually jump into, we'll do some live teardowns, but I wanted to try to give just some really simple, clean examples for you guys, just so you guys can visualize this aside just from our bubble graphs here. And most of this stuff you guys know, and we'll get into more detail when we do the teardowns, but great examples of sort of free shipping, right? So just even simple statements like free shipping to the lower 48 answers that question, right? I just now know I'm not going to have to pay for shipping if I'm buying the lower 48. It's a great example here. Olipop always does a great job with their checkout. We'll actually tear this one down live with you guys. But two things they do very well in their slider cart is, one, the free shipping threshold. So if once you meet that free shipping threshold, you know you get free shipping. And then they also mentioned their money back guarantee directly below the checkout button. So 45-day money back guarantee. That's a great risk reduction statement to make on the cart. It takes up minimal real estate, and there is no downside if you have a good guarantee or a good warranty to put that at the very bottom below your checkout button. They do a great job of this. And then they followed up on checkout. So another great job by Olipop here for actually stating their guarantee again, stating their free shipping policy down here below. And they also have another sort of unique selling benefit about digestive health, which is their sort of main core value proposition. But they list that directly here in the checkout experience. So they reiterate it. At this point, if you're going to buy Olipop, you know there's a guarantee of this purchase. So that's the framework we use when we start to think about how to reduce the risk profile and reduce cart abandonment directly in the cart design itself. Now, the other thing I always like to bring up when we talk about cart and checkout, because we get this question all the time, and you've seen lots of tools on the market, especially for Shopify brands in the last year and a half, that are allowing you to provide easier access to upsells and cross-sells and promotions within the cart experience itself. So what I always get asked is, like, how do we actually increase AOV on our purchases without killing conversion rates? And this is the key piece of this. A lot of folks will come in and they'll just start to slap upsells and cross-sells into their cart and into their checkout without considering or measuring whether or not that's actually hurting your conversion rate. And so what I want to talk about is some best practices around how to incorporate those upsells and cross-sells, and then how to make sure it does not kill conversions. And then I'm going to hand it over to Eric, and we'll talk about another awesome opportunity to help improve your abandoned cart rates. So I tweeted this one out, I want to say probably beginning earlier this year, and I got a ton of traction. And the idea around this is really simple. And it's 3 simple questions that you should be asking before you implement a cross-sell into your cart and checkout. And the reason why I bring this up is because the first way to ensure that you're setting yourself up for success, one, in terms of upsell and cross-sell take rate, and then also to ensure that you're not killing your conversion rates when you do present an upsell and a cross-sell, is ensuring that you're asking these 3 questions before you set those upsell or cross-sells up. And the first question is the price of this upsell, of this additional product that I'd be adding, is this price negligible compared to the main product? And so let's say you've got a $200 product and you're offering a $10 upsell or a $10 add-on to that product, negligible. You're going to have a much higher take rate in that instance. Second question, is there an incentive to purchase now together versus later separately? That incentive could be a discount, right? Let's say you're adding one product and we want to add another product to that and you get a 10% off. That's an incentive. Or there could just be a natural incentive. And I'll show you an example of this here in just a second. But is it timely? Is the additional product going to help you with the product that you're purchasing in a timely manner? And I'll sort of give an example of this, but one might be, for example, like holiday or Christmas or Halloween. If you're buying one product and there's a limited amount of time that you're going to have to use the upsell, it makes sense to actually purchase those together right now. So is there an incentive to do this now versus later separately? And then the final question would be, does the cross-sell or upsell in this case make the main product more valuable or more desirable? And so ideally, the answer is yes to all of these. And that's how you know you're in a great position with the upsell or cross-sell that you're offering. But even just being able to answer yes to one of these is going to make that much, much, much more valuable. We see a lot of brands just slap upsells on the site, just hoping they're going to work. And they haven't actually thought through this questioning sequence before. So this is where I'd always recommend to start. And a couple of really good examples of this would be Mephisto. This is one of our brands, very large, high AOV that says almost $340 pair of shoes. You know, the upsells in this case are a $15 water stain protector and a $20 pair of socks. Negligible price points in addition to the main product. Olipop does a really good example of subscribe and save. So there's a reason to actually subscribe because you're going to save 15%. So there is an incentive to subscribe now versus later because you get that discount now. And then if we look at in-checkout experience, this is for Sparkle and Pink, clothing brand. It's a little bit small, but basically what's been added to cart is a pair of Halloween bow socks. And the upsells they are offering specifically in checkout or a pair of Halloween sneakers and a pair of Halloween bows. So while there is not a discount incentive for adding these to cart, there is a timeliness incentive. If you have Halloween coming up for your kids and you're buying a Halloween outfit or bow socks for your kids, there's a limited amount of time you have to actually utilize that product and these products. There is a timeliness incentive associated with these upsells or cross sells in the checkout. And we can talk more about this in a little bit, but the caveat to all this, the catch to upsells that we see right now is one, use your data to drive your upsells, not AI. Not saying that AI doesn't work, not saying that AI does not have great recommendations. There's lots of AI upsell-based tools out there exist, and sometimes it works. We have seen from our experience running upsells for brands that we can consistently outperform the AI algorithm by just looking at the data within a brand and understanding what products are typically purchased with this other product. When somebody comes to buy one product, what is typically their second order when they come back to buy a second product. And we use that type of data to determine the types of upsells that we would offer in cart and checkout. And we see a much higher take rate using actual brand-driven data versus letting the AI algorithm actually recommend products. I'm sure AI is going to get better than us in the future. But as of right now, I would just be very conscious that you're probably better off starting off with your own data first and testing it against the AI algorithm. Second piece is don't set it and forget it. Always monitor this and always make sure that you're not killing your revenue per session when you offer upsells. So this is the biggest piece. A lot of brands will offer an upsell. They'll see AOV increase or see order value increase. They don't recognize that it's actually decreasing conversion rates and it's declining their revenue per session over time. So make sure you don't just set it and forget it. Make sure you're constantly monitoring your analytics around it to ensure it's not hurting you in the long run. And the final piece is we always recommend A/B testing. There's lots of great tools out there for A/B testing your upsells, not just A/B testing whether or not to show an upsell or cross-sell, but also A/B testing what product you show in that upsell and cross-sell. So highly recommend always A/B testing any upsell or cross-sell, especially in cart and checkout, since that is the final point of purchase. So I'll hand this over to Eric, and I'll let Eric talk through another really exciting tool for helping to improve your abandoned cart rates. And then we'll go and jump in and we'll do some teardowns together.
Sweet. Okay, I'll jump into two quick examples for everyone. This is really just low-hanging fruit that is available most likely on all of your sites today, which is the cart abandoner. We know through email marketing, Klaviyo's 2024 report, they announced that their #1 email flow for revenue attribution is their cart abandonment. So we know it works. What I love about Alan and the way he creates the format he's created, where it focuses on just understanding consumer behavior, and we're all consumers ourselves. So, we all do the same things that our customers are doing. I ran a survey on LinkedIn and asked 2 questions, which might relate to everyone is, do you purposely abandon a cart on a website and wait for an email? 48% of people said yes that I surveyed, which is why Klaviyo's cart abandonment flow, #1 is their cart abandonment emails. So we know consumers are trained to abandon carts. So why not engage them at that point in time? That's as simple as it is. Same session conversions. When someone's exiting your website, let's answer those questions that need to be answered. And it's not always discount. Is it, have you answered the shipping questions? Have you answered returns? Are you showing them that you use, say, happy returns? Are you using the, my other favorite product right now is Shopify's new Shop Promise, which it emulates the Amazon shipping widget. This is, I think, one of the features that is the most unknown, not least talked about, but I think is the most powerful tool right now available on Shopify. So, 2 examples, just kind of share what we're talking about here is the cart abandoner. Someone's leaving your website, use an exit offer to engage them at that moment. Tests we've ran, we can take this customer segment to a 34% sales conversion rate. This is also a smaller segment of your traffic. So it's all about focusing in on where the key money buckets are within your site. The second example is not when they're on your site exiting, it's that second visit, that return visitor. So it's all about reducing time to purchase, the number of visits to purchase. And that's where we want you to engage visitors that are returning to your website that had abandoned an item in a cart. So that when they return, let's present that item to them and say, are you still interested? And if so, let's get them to proceed to checkout. The control groups versus engaged that we monitor and test, we're seeing again a 30% plus conversion rate with this customer segment. You know, clients we're seeing here, this is 5% of their revenue for their whole business. So these are two visitor segments that we want you to focus on your site and engage them, and using pop-ups or banners to engage them with these.
Yep. I love the second one here, the return cart abandonment, because it's just there is zero downside to this, right? There's absolutely zero reason to not put this in. One, you're now hitting them from two angles. One is, you're going to have, if you have Klaviyo or Sendline, right, you're going to be sending out abandoned cart sequences that's going to drive them back to the site, and they're going to also get a live notification on site that's going to tell them what cart. So it's two reminders. And if somebody's just coming back to the site, you're going to get that automatic reminder, even if they ignored that abandoned cart sequence. So you're just giving yourself more reps, more opportunity to capture the cart that was abandoned. So this is one I love that I think most brands don't even know exists. They don't even know this is an opportunity, and this is the one that I think is the most interesting. I think most people at least have tested this or tried this or think about this. Even Rebecca was in the chat is like she purposely abandoned carts in order probably to get a discount. So it's like, end of the day, right? Yes, there are, like Eric mentioned, there's a high percentage of people that are going to do that, but the data doesn't lie. And even if you do have a portion of your customer base that is doing that, the return on investment still dramatically tells you that it's worth it, right? And so I would highly recommend doing both of these. But I think this one right here is one that we don't see done often, and I think it's a huge low-hanging fruit opportunity.
Well, something I talked about in retail is time visits to purchase.
Yeah.
And every time someone comes and leaves your site and doesn't make the purchase, you then have to retarget them. More emails, more paid. So every time each visit that it takes to convert, your margins get eaten away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the classic example I give is I was shopping for away furniture or away luggage, and I must have gone to that site 10 times before I finally made that purchase.
Yeah.
But I finally made it because our trip was coming up, and I was like, okay, I need to buy this, make sure I get it in time. But had they hit me on the third time, like, Eric, is this the time? Like, we'll ship this today. You'll get it, 2 days.
Yep.
And by the way, we'll we're gonna expedite your shipping for free.
Yep.
I'd be like, okay, fine. One question is, I posted the link to the shop promise for Shopify. Lauren, I'm not sure if BigCommerce has that functionality yet. But it's coming along. What you're seeing with Shopify is they are trying to replicate the Amazon experience in the Shopify ecosystem. Shipping, we know, is the #1 cart abandonment reason. The second is ease of payment, which is another survey we did was we asked, do you leave a website to check on Amazon? And it was 38% of people, I think it was yes. Alan, you mentioned it, like, maybe they're looking for a similar item for a cheaper price, or I go to Amazon because I know they're going to ship it on time. So we're really working to replicate the world's best-in-class customer experience with your own website.
Yep, that's 100% right. You think about express payment being a portion of that too, especially on mobile. We've run countless A/B tests across checkout and cart experiences where even if a brand does offer like Shop Pay or another express checkout option in the checkout experience, just by stating that you do that on the cart. So prior to even getting the checkout, just telling consumers that you offer express payments, we've seen in well over a majority of the tests that we've run, just stating that simple sentence drives higher cart to checkout and checkout completion rates. because just knowing that, especially if they're shopping on mobile, that there is going to be that express payment option is enough to get them from cart to checkout, which then gets them into the express payment option, which then completes the purchase. So it just shows you how just even a tiny little bit of understanding of a reduction in the friction for the buyer. So as you as a buyer going to the site, knowing that I can now use Shop Pay or I can use Apple Pay, whatever it is, knowing that that's available makes me more inclined to finish my purchase.
And there is a question: should discounts and cart management emails be higher and different than newsletter signups? It's our response is always you want to speak to each segment differently. Each segment has different needs. Someone who's brand new to a brand might need more incentive than someone who's not. If you're paying for a channel, you might need it, and you paid for that and they're worth more, you might want to increase your discount there. So not all visitors are the same. And some may not even be, that's our point, is that not everyone is discount driven.
100%.
One question we get today at Just Uno is, what can we do other than discounting? And that's where we get into this, solving the questions that consumers have to reduce friction and their risk profile.
Yep. It's a great point. We didn't mention that earlier, but that is a good point. Whereas, reducing abandoned cart and reducing checkout abandonment does not require applying discounts. It does not require discounting, right? It's really what's much more effective is thinking through and understanding who your buyer is, what's the job that they are here doing, right? To Eric's example, away luggage. Like, you're buying luggage, it's highly likely you're buying that luggage for a trip that is coming up, right? So you can immediately put yourself into the consumer's shoes and you can say, okay, there's probably a limited timeline they have to make this purchase. So is offering something like expedited shipping going to be a much more profitable offer for us that also ties more closely with the true need that the customer has at this point in time? And so you want to be thinking through your customer and your product and trying to think through, okay, for them, what job are they here doing? How can I make that job easier? AKA, how can I reduce the friction of them performing this job right now to make them more inclined to buy from me right now? And that does not always have to mean a discount.
But
in fact, we'd argue don't do discounts if you don't have to.
Well,
all right, you want to jump into some teardowns?
Let's do it.
Cool. Okay.
And, as you pull this up, I'll just final comment on that is that, someone that's new to your brand, you got to build their trust before they even care about a discount. So you definitely want to leverage discounts, but use that as like the final closer of like, if you throw them a bone, they'll probably take it, even if it's 5% off, it'll save them from having to go to Amazon and shop around. It's like, they feel like they got a deal and they trust you. That's a win for everyone.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's look at Gruden's here, and I'm assuming I'm pronouncing this correctly. Gruden's actually just bought something from them. That's why I'm pulling this out. So I'm actually going on a sailing trip next week, and I was looking for something, and so I noticed a few things on their site. So I figured it'd be a great opportunity to tear them down. So one of the things we're noticing, immediately, you come in here, you choose your color, you choose your size, click add to cart. They triggered a very, very, very basic cart slider on desktop. And we can look at this in mobile if you guys want to. But the biggest call outs here, and this is an example that I think, of a brand that does a absolutely terrible job of optimizing cart and checkout, is first off, you land here, I've got an almost $200 product in my cart. I know, because there's a banner up here that says free ground shipping of orders over $100, that I get free shipping. But then I'm told that shipping is calculated at checkout. So immediately they've actually introduced friction into the buying experience for me, because now I'm confused. I thought I got free shipping, but now you're telling me shipping and taxes are calculated at checkout. And so this is something that I see a lot of brands forget to do because they're using templates or using sort of basic design or not understanding conversion design when they design their carts. But they have this very simple statement of shipping and taxes calculated at checkout, even though free shipping is something that's either offered as part of their policy or with a threshold. And so this is the first piece that's right now they should absolutely be including. The second piece here would be there's absolutely an opportunity for upsells and cross sells with this product. If you're here buying a jacket specifically for fishing or for sailing, whatever it is you're doing, you're likely also going to be interested in other product that are going to help you on that trip or help you in that activity. Pants, gloves, bags. huge opportunity to A/B test different products here. I would not throw just another $200 pair of pants here as a static upsell and just leave it here and just hope and pray it works. I would A/B test that because you already have a high OV product. But this, I think, is ripe for A/B testing right here across upsells and cross sells. And then once you actually go to cart, let's see here. We'll do this real quick with me. Actually, no, I don't want to do the shop pay piece. But one of the things I'm noticing here is that if you look at their actual checkout experience, there's nothing in the checkout page that's reiterating anything about their policies, term policies, warranties. For a product, the higher the price point, the larger the perceived risk of purchase is going to be on that product. And I need some sort of risk reduction here, whether it's some sort of warranty, some sort of guarantee, some sort of a reminder about free shipping, free exchanges, free returns exchanges, something that, so if I know I get this for $200, I'm not just going to be stuck with it. I can return it, get a new size. And that's a big deal in clothing and apparel, especially high price point. The one thing they do well, though, is in their shipping method down here, is they do at least list the days that I would expect to receive it. And it's minor and it's small, and there's better ways to do this, but at least they list it here, and that's a big deal. We see a lot of brands, especially in their free shipping tier, don't list a timeline for delivery. And so this is key. But I would say, Eric, you come back here and you get rid of it. Definitely not getting a pop-up. I'm getting nothing.
I will say my trust, they're building no trust with me on this one.
Yeah,
looks like this looks like a brand that doesn't understand online retailing. No,
I would 100% agree. I think digital for them is probably an add-on, and they're not optimizing their purchase funnel at all here.
My biggest question, like 5 to 8 days, I'm like, geez, well, how long is it going to take them to pack and ship this thing?
Yeah.
So talking about shipping, also one questioning, I see the EU store in the upper right-hand corner. Is this going to be coming from Europe? Is this a US based?
It's a good question. I actually think it is technically a Europe based, but from a fulfillment standpoint, I don't know. You're right.
Yeah.
But a 5 to 8 business day too shipping timeline is not ideal. No. You're talking about at least, you're talking about really 2 weeks for shipping.
This strikes me as probably a pretty dedicated customer base.
Probably. I think it's probably right. Somebody who's very brand loyal.
Do they have? Here's a question: do they have stores? Can I go in like a store locator? Can I go? Where can I find these to like try it on or shop for it local? Is that an option?
Looks like they do. Yeah, it looks like they do have a store locator.
I would get the store locator. Probably, I'd unbury that.
Yeah, I would agree. And they say nothing about, especially on the product page, you got, there are free returns. So at least you can, feel comfortable ordering and returning if it doesn't fit or you don't like quality.
So returns was another question asked in my poll. And because I know in my house, I know how we operate is that a big percentage of items don't get returned because it's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the biggest, another big opportunity over the next 5 years. We're going to see retailers understand that returning items is a critical aspect.
In terms of ease of returns, right? So as opposed to so using products or services like Happy Returns as an example, right? Yeah. Where it just takes the friction out of the return experience.
Yeah. It's the type of thing where if you have an exit offer, if you mouse over free returns, we use Happy Returns. It'll be very easy. You don't have to rebox it. You don't have to get packaging tape. You don't need a printer to print out the label.
Yep.
You just bring this item into the store and they scan a QR code. Great.
Yep.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Yep. Yeah, you'd be shocked by how many households don't have printers anymore, right? Like the need for paper, right? We have one, we don't have ink. We're like, we don't use it enough, right? And so I think it's a great point that I think services like Happy Returns people are coming more and more familiar with them. So I think some of this is a brand association, but I do believe that's probably a trend we'll start to see is more more communication around those ease of return systems, because they really are a benefit to the user. Similar to like how we've tested saying like, look, the fact, we put in cart express payment options available at checkout, right? I think, happy returns available. I think those types of call to actions, or those types of text on even on a product page or on a cart page, would be interesting to start testing and see as that brand recognition grows.
And then what's going on up top with the free ground shipping with orders $100 or more? It looks like it's not clickable or anything.
No, there's nothing here.
Yeah, so
I have less of an issue with that so much. I think it'd be, I mean, let's see, what are they doing here? I guess they do have some, no, then they're clicking out to a shipping policy. So no, I'd take all that back. There's no real easy access to the information around shipping and return. So they're missing the boat big time on both of those. I agree.
Question, did you make the purchase?
I did actually make a purchase, but I also researched it on Amazon to see if I could buy it on Amazon first. And it didn't have it on Amazon, so I didn't buy it on Amazon.
Now, here's something that is a question for retailers. If you do have an Amazon store, are you willing to put a link to that item to the Amazon store?
It's a great question. I assume I know the answer to that, but I think it's a great question.
Do you recommend free shipping paid membership to encourage returns? I don't know. I haven't really seen too much of that. That seems like a big commitment for a one-time purchase.
Yeah, I think that's a broader conversation around membership. And in fact, we've actually noted that as a feature that we want to do, is actually talk about how to set up membership programs in a way that's most effective. Because I think there's a lot of misnomer about that and a lot of confusion on how to do that. That's a good question, Lauren, but I think we'll save that for another session, because I think that requires a deeper dive into the sort of how you structure membership programs.
Okay, well, 10 minutes in.
All right, guys, let's do another quick one here at Bamboo Earth, because these guys don't do a good job either. So let's jump in and take a look at them, and then let's show a couple of good examples. So Bamboo Earth, let's go and find a product here very quickly. This is not one that I was shopping for myself, but let's just take a serum.
In our transition here, I noticed they did not hit you with an exit offer when you left Grunen's, by the way.
Yeah, they did not. Yeah, you are correct. I do like they make a personalized recommendation, although I don't like that they offer up a personalized recommendation on the product page, because I'm already here. I prefer if that got presented to me closer to what felt like an exit. Let's order this once. Let's add a cart. One, it takes you to a cart page specifically. There's pros and cons. We've tested this across multiple different brands, and we see varying results. So it's not necessarily a bad decision that is making you reload to a cart page. I think what we've seen in most cases is that slider cards do outperform. So that's typically the standard we start with, and then we would test against that. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they've actually tested that, and this actually does outperform for them. But what we do see here in this particular case is that there's nothing being upsold or cross-sold here, especially for a consumable-based product that likely goes with other products, right? If you're looking at skincare, you've got a regimen. You've got a skincare regimen that typically includes more than one. And some of these products are typically complementary to one another as part of that regimen. And there's nothing in here that is pushing me towards a higher AOV purchase by offering a bundle or a nighttime regimen or a morning regimen solution here. And I think that's a big miss that should be tested. Again, I wouldn't just drop it in here. I would A/B test it, but I see zero. I've been to the site multiple times here the last couple of days, and nothing has popped up.
All right, you ready for the new age strategy here? I can't wait for people to test this. There's $68 in the cart.
Yeah.
$75 threshold, you can see in 8-point font up top, which is horrible. Look, I don't want to be upsold. I'm buying this as a gift for my wife. I don't want to spend more money. You're gonna make me, pay for shipping. I'm out of here. I go to leave. What if we said, hey, look, you're so close to free shipping, we'll give it to you.
Yeah. I would agree. And I think that comes back to knowing the buyer, right? I think knowing your product, knowing who your buyer is and the job they're here to do, And if that's a likely scenario for your buyer, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think also understanding new versus returning visitors. And if it's a new visitor, offering free shipping at a lower threshold to get them hooked because it's a consumable product. And you could actually calculate that LTV over time to determine, okay, look, comping free shipping on a 68 versus a $75 order, right? We're not talking about a large discrepancy between the two. If I can get somebody to make a first purchase, what does returning customer rate look like? What does LTV look like? And firing that based upon new versus returning, I think is also interesting. This segmented even more. That I think is a great call out. I think another just low hanging fruit here that's really obvious is that once my cart value does hit above 75, there's nothing here telling me that I've now earned free shipping, right? It still says tax and shipping calculated at checkout. And this is another big miss that we see frequently with brands.
Lauren, to answer your statement, maybe you could be even more creative and say, if you are a member, the shipping threshold is less, to kind of combat what it kind of solves two of your issues there about ways to encourage membership, and then also not getting people to be trained to expect free shipping.
All right, well, just real quick, let's check out. We'll put this in here. We'll get rid of Shop Pay for a second. Continue to shipping. They do, at least in this instance, they give a good job of stating what that free shipping is. Again, 3 to 6 business days, better than 5 to 8. But at least they do give you a timeline here. And we don't always see this with the free option, which is good. I like that. They are running a 40% off the Try Our Other Body Products Ultimate Body Bundle. The thing I dislike about sort of the Ultimate Body Bundle in this position is that I don't know what that is. And so in this scenario, when we're focusing on optimization, I would be highly skeptical of throwing this in the checkout without the ability to A/B test this, because I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go, oh, 40% off the Ultimate Body Bundle. That's $136, purchase for 81. Like, what do I get for that bundle? And I'm going to get out of here. And
Can you click on that? Does it take you to the product page? Like, can you even see it? See, like,
nope.
You're asking them to commit to something without even.
They have no idea what it is.
Yeah, that's not great.
And at such a discounted rate that I'm now very intrigued by it, especially if what I'm going to get is the product I've already added to cart. And so you're now basically incentivizing me to leave checkout to go and figure out what this bundle product is, versus giving me something that's just a simple add-on to this. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
The other comment is I've heard Shop Pay a couple times already.
Yeah.
I love Shop Pay. I think it's great. It's something, again, that you can communicate to your users. And if you already know they're a Shop Pay, let them know, like, remind them, hey, Shop Pay, 1-click checkout. Remind them it's easy.
Yep. And that's where, we've seen this. We've actually A/B tested this many times. And this is not a good example because it's a cart page itself, but actually it would still work. Just a simple line item that says express payment options available or Shop Pay available. Just so they know when they go to checkout, or putting it underneath the checkout here, Shop Pay available. If you're here on mobile, that is a high incentive for me to be like, okay, well, this makes it way easier if I do Shop Pay, because then I don't have to whip out a credit card and try to type it all in on my mobile phone. And so we've seen, especially on mobile testing, that is a significant boost to checkout, from cart to checkout steps.
I had a question on the product page for you.
Yeah.
And if anyone has a subscription business in here, curious your thoughts on the product page.
Oh yeah, product page. Let's go back.
I'm old school. I still call it product page.
PDP.
The subscribe and save and the become a member. There's a lot of things to process here.
Yeah, I would agree. Become a member, I think, is probably the big one here. I think most most understand subscribe and save, but become a member is obtuse, right? There's no clarity around that. And it's at a lower price point than subscribe and save. So now I'm having to dig and figure out, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And there's nothing here that explains it. So now you're taking me off the product page, you're taking me to membership, and you're forcing me to,
and if
this remove myself in the buying funnel.
If that's, a leadership goal to increase membership, well, maybe we should have a banner at the bottom selling membership, explaining what it is, getting people excited about it before they're at a point of purchase.
Even just a simple hover state, right? Question mark hover state, or an expandable field on the product page that talks about, what is membership or the benefits of membership, right? There's so many easy ways to give better access to that information than just kind of throwing this up as an option, cross the fingers, hope people opt in. Cool. All right. Do you want to do Maine lobster?
Sure.
Do Maine lobster. I love this one. Mainly just because I love lobster and I love the concept of being able to get lobster shipped to me when I live in a mountain town desert in the middle of Oregon. All right. So homepage, I think there's lots we could talk about on the site in terms of optimizing. And I've got a lot of feedback with regard to like homepage and product page layouts, but if we have some time, we can go back and talk about it. I think the piece though, obviously we're here to talk about is cart and checkout. So let's go ahead and let's actually add something to cart. How do you feel about that pop-up experience right there, Eric? Let's talk about that one. What do you think?
Very much on brand. Pretty. I like how we're not just talking discount. We have validation right there.
Yeah, I love the quote. Yeah, I think this is something people miss, is the ability to layer in social proof at different parts of the customer journey in a way that builds trust along the way. And so I didn't talk about this at all because we don't have enough time to talk about this, but when we're talking about sort of reducing perceived risk of purchase, that's not something that you just do at cart and checkout. That's something that needs to happen from the second you engage with a brand, and you build trust along the way as they engage with your brand at different touch points throughout the site. And so great example of that here is, yes, we are offering an incentive to get 10% off. Let's assume I'm a first-time buyer, I've never bought before, so I'm getting a new buyer pop-up. But layering in testimonials here is absolutely going to help me better start to develop trust with a brand that I've yet to purchase from before, especially in the space of food, consumables, live products getting shipped to me. This already has my risk profile is already high for this brand, right? Anything that you're going to eat, anything that is food related, anything that especially that has to stay good while it gets shipped to you, the guardrails are up, barriers are up. And so you need to build a lot of trust along the way. But let's go ahead and actually add something to cart. I may accidentally purchase this one myself just because I want it. All right, in cart. One, I think they've done a great job of trying to capture the low-hanging fruit opportunity in the cart experience. I'm going to call out some things to consider here, but like compare this to Gruden's, where Gruden's did nothing. Things that they do very well. One is they do let you know what is remaining until you can get free shipping. And let's say I did just decide I wanted to double up my order. I now have unlocked free shipping. So this is just such a basic, simple way to build a little bit of gamification and also build some positive reinforcement and let people understand that they're going to get free shipping when they move to the next step. So simple. This is built into lots of themes, built into products like Rebuy, lots of products out there, et cetera. Other thing I like that's really good here, because if you talk about unanswered questions for this very specific brand, the unanswered question I have is, okay, I want to buy lobster. And maybe I'm throwing a party, or maybe this is for Thanksgiving or Christmas, but it's obviously September, right? I don't want this delivered to me in the next 2 weeks. I don't need it until I need it. And this is live lobster. And so the question that I would have asked on the product page would have been, okay, well, what, can I pick the date? So one, I think they do a phenomenal job of building in date selection into the cart experience so that once I add to cart, it's immediately apparent to me that I can select the exact date that I want this to arrive, which for this product and for me as a buyer is massively important. A miss that I think they have is that I do not think they clearly communicate enough up front that you can select your delivery date. It ships overnight, but if I read this ships overnight, then I go, I guess I just buy this today before I need it, which is not ideal. Yes, if I go into shipping details, live lobster, orders via priority or next day, you'll select your delivery date. It's kind of buried in here. Most people are going to miss this. I would want this upfront in my bullet points. Choose the date of delivery, or there's lots of ways that could be phrased, but something along those lines. I think that's a key point that's actually missed on the product page. But in the cart itself, love this. Love that it's here. It does say taxes, discounts, and shipping calculated checkout. I'll give them that one because they have a great tool up here that's branded. Love the lobster claw. You unlock free shipping. I think that's great. I think the criticism that a lot of people would give to this experience is that, one, it's a high AOV. And I actually was having this conversation with one of our clients the other day. They also offer a very high AOV product, and they have never offered any sort of upsell or cross-sell in their cart experience before, because the conclusion has always been, I don't want to in any way risk my $260 purchase for an extra 34 bucks, right? Or for an extra 24 bucks. And so why would I even contemplate adding a bunch of upsells and cross-sells if I think there's even a minute chance that the take rate of my 256 or 259 is going to be lower? And I think that's a very valid concern. And I think you should absolutely have that concern, especially as a high AOV brand. And my recommendation, though, is that you should test it. Always test it. Because I can tell you that we have run tests internally for brands. There's one apparel brand right off the top of my mind I can think of. We actually did a even further expanded version of this and offered big blocks of bundled products and upsells along the side. That was, in a lot of ways, you look at it and go, that's too much. There's too much going on here. Let's focus on the main product. That would have been my natural reaction. But when we A/B tested it for 6 months for this brand, the take rate was unbelievably high, and it had a dramatic improvement in average revenue per session. And if we had gone based on best practices of not distracting from the main high AOV purchase, they would have missed out on that increase in revenue per session. So this is an example of like upsells, cross-sells, always A/B test, and always measure not just conversion rate or AOV. Make sure you're actually measuring the revenue associated. And the metric we like to use is average revenue per session. That's how you know whether or not you're moving the needle up or down. But otherwise, I think they do a good job. I don't know, Eric, do you have any thoughts on the cart?
What's your thought on the stacked on the left?
It's a good question. I think there's two ways to do this, right? You could do this expanded sort of stack version on the left. You could do inline upsells, cross-sells. This would be a scenario where I would test. I would say, look, if you had come to me a year ago and said, we want to throw all of these upsells in a slider on the left side of your cart, I would have said that's a terrible idea. Until we had tested it as many times as we have now tested this with a few other brands. It doesn't work all the time, but it does work in certain scenarios. My guess is they're not A/B testing this, so they're probably flying a little blind here. So that is my major criticism, is that they need to be testing this and measuring revenue per session to assure this is not hurting against the main purchase. So it's probably more of a criticism than it is a compliment in this case. But I can't sit here and go, this is a bad idea, because I've seen it work too frequently to say that.
What about looking at the product page there?
Yep.
You have choose quantity 2 through 20 there.
Yeah.
And then you have weight. So you have some decisions to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I also noticed in the product category section, and I hear this from a lot of retailers is that have setups like this. Do you have individual product when you go to the category page? Do you have quantity 2, quantity 4 as their own product listings? So like you'll see,
yeah,
right here, what's the difference between these 3 SKUs? Live Maine lobsters, lobster boat run box. Okay.
This I think is like my guess, and it's a great question because I actually don't know. My assumption is probably some sort of bundle of product that you're getting. That's more than just lobster.
Yeah.
And then big box 12 live lobsters. This one does look like it's like a larger bundle. So I think I have a lot of criticisms over the product page and over the collections page, like the listing page for these guys. But I think that's that's a whole nother day of teardowns. But I would agree there's a lot of decisions that are happening here. And if you want to tear some of these down real quick, I'd say like, okay, one, how many people have actually ordered live lobster to their house before, right? Small fraction of people. I have no idea how many pounds I'm supposed to buy. I'm feeding 10 people. What do I buy? Right.
There's an education component.
Yeah, there's a large education component here that's being missed. Now I'm choosing size and I'm choosing quantity. So there's also kind of like, well, what's better? Do I choose 1 to 1.5, 2 pounds, but more of them? So now I'm kind of probably trying to run some math.
Well, you generally
cheaper,
do one
right?
lobster per person, and
yeah,
people like that middle size is what usually has the best flavor. So like one of like a 1.45 would be perfect for one person.
You're an educated buyer, clearly.
I mean, yeah. So education there. The other thing is you talk about consumer needs.
Yep.
You led with shipping. Like, okay, what is entailed with shipping here? To me, that's my biggest. I'm out in California. They're in Maine.
Yeah.
Like, what's this experience going to be like for me? And am I going to get this gigantic box of styrofoam I'm going to then have to get rid of?
Yeah, it's very true. And a lot of this is, I don't even know how much of this is buried in the text, but I would agree. That's a great unanswered question, especially for a live product is, okay, yes, it ships overnight, but how does it ship overnight? Are you guys shipping these things? Are they live, but are they just in water? Or are they slightly frozen, but still alive, right? Like, I think there's a lot of question here that if you're purchasing this price point on a product that you're then going to consume, again, talk about perceived risk of purchase. Those are key unanswered questions. Let's go to the checkout here real quick, since we're talking about cart and checkout today. I do love this. I do love that they are attempting here. They're doing a great job of just saying, like, look, satisfaction guaranteed. We know this is a big purchase. We know this is a live product. If for any reason we miss the mark, we make it right. Like, such a simple statement to put here.
That needs to be front and center.
Yeah. So, and the fact that this isn't on the product page, I think is huge. I think the fact that this isn't on the cart itself is huge. Like, I think this should be layered in multiple different places. But I do like that they at least have it, right here. Upsells, popular editions. I think some of these meet the rule of kind of lower price point, easy add-ons. I think I'm not seeing the most. Well, this is popular add-on, so I'm not sure what the algorithm is for this. So I won't criticize that too heavily yet. But I'd want to look and see what is typically being purchased with the live lobster. More specifically, I think I saw somewhere that you can actually buy like mallets and bibs.
I was just thinking that. Does it already come with it, or is that an add-on?
Great question. But I know in cart they have that as one of the upsells here.
Right there.
Right. I gotta imagine these right here that's a high margin product for these guys. I gotta imagine it's only $15. And I don't know how many you get for that, but point being is that it's simple take rate, simple add-on.
That's not a bad deal. Talk about a great free gift potential.
Yeah, right. For sure.
And it has branding on it.
So guys, I know we're at time. At this point, we're well over time. I can hang for sure. I think let's hang for a couple minutes if you guys have some more questions or want us to take a look at any of the sites. I was going to do a teardown at Olipop, but we can real quick if you guys want to see this as you guys are dropping any questions into the chat. If you guys want us to take a look at your checkout or take a look at your cart, feel free to throw the link in here, and we can take a couple more minutes here. Eric, you got another minute or two here?
Yeah, I think so.
If not, let me know. We can wrap it up.
I got a couple minutes.
Yeah, let's take a couple minutes. Somebody wants to throw a link in, throw your brand in here, and we'll take a look at your cart. we're talking to look at Olipop. I think it's interesting that they actually have, this is something that I actually have not seen many brands do. Olipop, I know, has done a great job of testing product. And so I think my guess is they have A/B tested this, so they know this works. But they actually have a full cart overtake for their subscribe and save option. For a consumable product, right, where subscription is the business, I think this is a very interesting approach to test. To test, and I say that very specifically. You should test this. I think from like a layout standpoint, they actually do a great job in terms of keeping this pretty clean, given the sense they're actually offering two different upsells. So subscribe and save and add-ons. So this can be tough to do. This can become very overwhelming if not done right. I think they do a pretty good job of that here in the layout. And then checkout. We talked about this when we were looking at sort of risk reduction. Good job of, again, continuing to reinforce that 45-day money-back guarantee, which they also have in cart. All right, Maisie, let's take, oh, I don't want to, see if I can move this over to here. Yep. Maisie, I'm going to take your URL. Let's throw it in here. All right, Maisie, let's do a quick tear down cart and experience. Obviously, we could totally tear down the homepage, and I've got lots of feedback on that. But let's go into, so shop. Are there supposed to be links here, or do I just go? Oops, that page can't be found. Let's pick a product here. Let's go lipstick. Is that a cart? Yeah. First major piece of feedback would just be pop-up cart experiences are, generally speaking, a poor form of delivering the content because consumers are just not used to it anymore. I think this was normal years and years and years ago. People have become much more accustomed to sliding carts or just a standard cart page. And so immediately, think of yourself, this is what the analogy I always like to use when you're talking about site design, and brands like to try these very unique different layouts for pages, is that if you walked into your grocery store, the grocery store you go to every week to buy groceries, and all of a sudden today they decide to move everything around and put the deli on this side and put fruit across the other side and completely change up where all the cereal is, you'd walked in so discombobulated and frustrated, and it would ruin the experience. And so there's absolutely a balance between mimicking and emulating what other brands do so that it is familiar to your buyer, while at the same time maintaining some level of uniqueness in the term and with regard to brand. And so this is an example where I'd say I'd highly recommend standard cart page or a cart slider, if not only just for that purpose. I do like there's a free shipping threshold, and you're telling everybody how much there is to add free to get free shipping. I think what I would find interesting though is if I added both of the products that are in your purchase together, I still don't get free shipping. So when we're thinking about free shipping thresholds and we're thinking about offering product in cart, think about making sure that the upsells you're offering are going to get you to that first threshold. Make it easy for them to get to the threshold with the upsells that you are offering. So let's click on here. Go to checkout. Standard Shopify checkout. Yeah. So again, not much being done in the checkout experience at this point. Let's see, we can go and put Shop Pay, which is great, but let's not use it. Flat rate shipping, no idea. When is that going to get here, right? So I think that's probably the biggest shipping criticism right now is like, okay, I'm buying some lipstick. Let's say I'm my wife and I'm going to a New Year's Eve party, and it's the week before New Year's Eve, and I'm out of lipstick and I need lipstick before the New Year's Eve party. I have no idea if this is going to get here in time. So I'm immediately going to go with something that I know is going to get here in time. And so I'm going to abandon purely based on the fact that I don't know what the shipping timeline is going to be in this case. Nothing about returns, nothing about exchanges, right? So I think all these are really low hanging fruit opportunities right now. Cool. Lisa's also asking, what is doorstop delivery? That must have been somewhere that I missed.
Maybe doorstep.
Let's see. I don't know. I missed that somewhere.
Might just be a typo, just meaning
Might just be a typo. Yeah.
More.
Yeah. Let's see what happens by this occurring.
Deliver in person. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's all we got for today. We went way over time, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and cut it off there. We're gonna do more of these events. That is, we're gonna try to do one of these every single month. And what we are doing, I think somebody actually asked if we do store audits. We do store audits. So if you guys are interested, we actually are offering 50% off for anybody who's on the event today. 50% off our full site audit. So if you have any interest, want to talk to us about that. Typically, we only do those for brands that are doing 50 to 100,000 sessions a month. It's what we need in order to review your analytics. But if you're at that level, please reach out. Let us know. More than happy to offer 50% off our full site audit for you guys today. All you have to do is go to bluestout.com/strategy to book a call, or just go to bluestout.com and we've got a button in the corner that says book a call. Book a call, talk to someone in our team, and we can get you guys set up that discount. Just tell us you're on the event, and we'll make sure you get the discount. Eric, thanks for joining today, man. This is great. Anything else you want to leave with?
Our card abandonment flows are ready to activate in the account. One-click activation. So just is no different than the way you activate your Klaviyo flows for email for your on-site experience. Just jump into Justuno and activate them.
And I think something I would throw out about the Justuno also is that, these are kind of what we've got here, just screenshots that are templates, but you guys offer all types of just ready to go templates and flows. So you can onboard and literally set it up in, I don't know, like how long does it take to set up one of these flows for a brand?
I mean, depending on how much customization, you could go in 10 minutes, get one live testing. Yep. And you'll see, the thing is with these card abandonment ones, you'll see ROI same day. Yeah.
And you measure the ROI, right? So it's not one of those where you set it and just cross your fingers and hope. You can actually measure how much revenue is being driven through the pop-up, right?
Well, you can have a control group. We can see engaged, not engaged, sales conversion rate, amount of money. It's really, it's one of those things that has to be in your quiver. So if you're not, test it out.
Yeah, I'm big on low-hanging fruit, things that can be tested very quickly that drive revenue, and this fits into that bucket immediately. It's worth even just testing it out. Like don't overthink it, right? Think about your audience, think about your product, think about what the offer should be, but launch it. There's enough pre-built templates in here that you can quickly style and launch. So highly recommend checking out and trying the abandoned cart flows. It's low-hanging fruit at a critical decision-making point to keep somebody in the flow.
Great. Cool. Okay.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Alan. That was awesome.
Eric, thanks for the time, man.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.